Titled this message, The Greatest Adventure of My Life. During the many years and tears and emotional pain, I could not have imagined the blessing and wonder of God's great provision and amazing adventures that I would have because of the two verses I'm going to read to you now. Isaiah 30:18, the Lord will wait that he may be gracious to you. That is part of the verse. And the second one, Isaiah 64, since the beginning of the world, man has not heard nor perceived by the ear, neither has seen by the eye, O God, beside you, what you have prepared for those who wait for him. And these two verses would become very, very fulfilled in my life. And of a truth, I suffered a lot over those years between 1984 and 2003. But having said that, there were many joys too. But the emotional pain was often bitter and tense and moving to pray with strong crying and tears. I refused to give up and take second best. Refused to accept any woman who just showed any interest in me. Out of desperation. By the time I was approaching 40, things seemed awful and hopeless. The enemy made it worse, of course. Made the most of the opportunity to rub salt into my already wounds, like saying, God doesn't care about you at all, or how could he treat you so cruelly? How can you ever be happy without a dear woman to share life with? And for me, Christmas time was a very joyless celebration often at times. It just exasperated my singleness and loneliness. But in 2003, the Lord filled me with his Spirit in the most powerful way. That was the turning point in my whole outlook on life. It opened my eyes like it did for Job. It showed me the true meaning of life, Jesus Christ himself. From that time, the adventures with him grew. Soon I was scuba diving and having amazing adventures of self-esteem building, confidence building and trust. I began to see myself as a man who could have confidence and self-esteem. I started to travel abroad on my own, which was a great step for me and a wonderful adventure with my Lord. I had the most amazing times in my life up to then. Diving to the depths of the sea over the world, in wrecks and caves, the most beautiful scenery. I grew in my skill base with guitars, learned to play the keyboard, electric guitar, taught myself lead guitar, play scales in different modes. And all the time the Lord was leading me, revealing me his love plan for my life. I started to teach guitar, joined a band. I grew more and more confidence. I drove to the mountain regions and spent time alone with the Lord, hiking and walking through the mountains with him. I drove to another country on my motorcycle, learned another language, but still the greatest adventure of my life was to come. And all these events and adventures with the Lord was teaching me to trust in him and confidence in him. And 2011, October the 23rd, one day after my 49th birthday, I sent another 10 or so emails to random women on a Christian dating site to encourage them without any expectation of actually meeting anyone. In fact, I concluded that being past 40 meant that I was past any hope of these dating sites being a blessing to me in any way. And I had set up a singles encouragement site in 2009, and so I was spreading out into these dating sites to encourage people who may have been feeling the same as I had. I had wondered the day before how much longer I would have to wait until faith and confidence in God grew enough, like Abraham. I knew the best would be worth waiting for, and I knew that God would keep his word. I knew he would be faithful and answer me above all I could ask or imagine, and I knew that he would make up for the years that I had lost and missed out on. But little did I know how very near this was to the doors of my life, and that the 26 years of waiting, that night, that moment in time, would begin to come to an end, and the dawn and the light of the sunshine, the Son of God, the wonderful blessings would begin to be unveiled to me, and my life would never be the same again. If only I could convey the burning love of Jesus in my heart, as I wrote these words a little while ago, and encourage you that waiting for God, no matter how long, is worth it. And trust me, those of you who are listening to this, that when I wrote this, there was tears streaming down my face, because I want you to have this blessing too. I want you to know that the best is worth waiting for, no matter what your age, what few years you may have left in your own eyes, because you cannot comprehend the glory and the joy, the wonder, the fullness of Jesus and his love for you if you refuse to give up on waiting and praying for your heart's desire. On this day, one email landed on my wife-to-be, Angeline, in her mailbox, which prompted a swift response from her. The greatest journey and adventure of my life had just begun, and 90,000 air miles later, and a lot of expenditure which God provided to me, led me to the most beautiful woman I could ever hoped or dreamed for, and today 2 lovely boys, and I am filled with the goodness of the Lord because of his faithfulness, enabled me to wait these years. When the Lord said that he would do far above all I could ask or imagine, little did I know the truth of these words. But not only did he meet my needs of a companion, but I had the most amazing adventure along the way of meeting Angeline. Obviously going to another country, the culture, the climate. It was just an incredible experience, and to the point where I'd almost really would like to go through it again. But the key thoughts are waiting for God's time, trusting that he will do so in the best time. For it says, those who wait will be blessed, and he also will prepare the blessing for you, far above what you can imagine. So do not fear or despair at your age, the lost years, what few years you seem to have left, whatever your circumstance is, your health, your wealth, lack of health, unfit, makes no difference. The Lord will do wonders for you. The only obligation you have is to not give up waiting, no matter how many years it might be. May you know the greatest adventure in your life as I did in waiting for Angeline.